What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the DFS Post YouTube channel, live stream Wildcard weekend. How you doing, Joe? You ready to make some picks, make some bets?
Yeah, man, this is looking like a fun wildcard slate. I'm ready to dive into Draftkings. Ready to talk about some of our favorite bets, and we got to make that money this weekend.
Oh yeah, that's definitely the top priority. I mean, not much has really changed, I don't think, since we recorded the podcast. Couple of bits of news. I think the most interesting stuff is at the running back position, where it looks like Leonard Fournette is good to go, going to be one of the chalkiest players on the 6-game slate. Definitely one of the chalkiest players on Sunday's 3-game slate, as well as Darren Williams with CEH officially ruled out.
Yeah. First, if you're watching, put in the chat if Ben's stream is or Ben's side is fucked up, because I think you are. I think you really are like chalked.
I'm not chalked. It looks fine over here. All right.
Nah, on YouTube and Twitter, somebody put in the comments down below if it's Ben's side. I told him it didn't look good. But yeah, shout out to everybody watching right now. If you're watching, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're at 347 subscribers on YouTube. Help us get to 350. We appreciate it. If you would subscribe, we're going to talk about this 2-game slate, and then we're going to talk about the 3-game slate and some bets, since we are in New York and betting has finally become legalized. Nobody has put in the comments yet.
Am I chopped yet? Am I still chopped?
Nobody has put in the comments yet whether or not it is. I think it is. But
I'm just trying to look. It does look kind of chopped on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, there's something definitely wrong with your camera, internet.
That's crazy.
Something.
That's crazy. It looks good on mine.
Nah, looks can be deceiving. We got a couple people watching right now. We need to know, is Ben's side very choppy? Just put yes or no in the chat.
I don't know how to fix that, bro. I think my internet is succumbing to the cold a little bit.
I don't think it works like that.
Shit, a little chilly out here.
Yeah, see,
Aaron says why.
Yeah, yes. It's not good.
All right, you're gonna have to hold it. I'm gonna have to fix this.
Yeah. All right, Ben will be back. We'll remove him. All right. So, DraftKings, 2-game slate. It's lit. All right. So we got a nice 2-game slate today with the Bengals and Raiders game kicking off at about 4:30. So 3 hours from now, and then the Patriots Bills, go Pats Nation at 8 o'clock. I will share the screen for you guys so you guys can see DraftKings while Ben gets that fixed. But as it stands right now, not much has changed in terms of injuries and COVID news. Damian Harris, I think, is likely to play. So we're looking at a nice clean slate of games for this 2-game slate, a nice slate of players. And in terms of the Raiders and Bengals game, I think that is going to be the game that you are going to want to target on this 2-game slate. Just more upside for fantasy potential and for fantasy ceilings, in my opinion. You have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon on the Bengals side of the ball that could definitely speed up the pace of the game. What's up? Nah, your shit. There's something wrong with yours for sure.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I would assume it's your internet and the connection. I think that's probably what it is. You might have to hard reset your modem. or your router or whatever, that's probably the fix for sure. So Ben will be here whenever he gets his internet situation figured out. There's really no point to have him on while his shit is so choppy like that. And as always, if you guys have any questions, make sure to post them in the chat. I will answer all of the questions that are posted in here. But just taking a look at the quarterbacks for this slate, I think my preferred lean is Josh Allen, paying up to him. Joe Burrow is enticing a little bit, but it's only a $600 difference between Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. And we just know that the ceiling is so much higher on Josh Allen. Like he has these 30, 40-point games in his range of outcomes pretty much anytime he steps on the field. And it's not the best of spots going up against this New England defense, but as you could see here, 3 weeks ago, absolutely torched the Patriots, and the Patriots are down some of their starting quarterbacks, or potentially could be down, I should say, with Jalen Mills on the COVID list. Jalen Mills probably, I think, will not be able to go in this game. Miles Bryant, I think, is injured as well right now. So they might be down to like Sean Wade and some practice squatters that the Patriots elevated before this game in the secondary. And there were some reports that came out that said JC is going to shadow whoever the other outside wide receiver is opposite Diggs, which will probably be Sanders / Gabe Davis, and that they're going to double team Diggs with Sean Wade or whomever, Devin McCourty, throw a safety up top over Diggs. That's kind of the game plan for the Patriots, but the secondary is depleted. Josh Allen, we know the ceiling that he has. And on this slate, I think there's enough value to where you could pay up to Josh Allen. Obviously, you're going to get a good amount of leverage if you play Joe Burrow, Derek Carr, or Mac Jones, but I just don't think the ceiling is there with any of those guys besides Joe Burrow, obviously. And you can definitely play Burrow for sure. I'm not saying not to play him, but in terms of cash, if you're playing cash on this 2-game slate, you're playing Josh Allen 100%. And in GPPs, personally, I'd rather get up to Allen, but I could definitely see going to Burrow. And those are really the only two quarterbacks that I have interest in for this 2-game slate. No Mac Jones for me over here. We just know that the Patriots are going to want to run the ball, take the air out of the ball, try and get a lead, and just run the clock down and play a disgusting game is kind of how the Patriots want to get there. So no Mac Jones. Raiders, I'm not too interested in the Raiders side of the ball. They just played a late thriller on Sunday night, against the Chargers. Short week, first game of the wild card the Raiders are playing in. They're traveling from the West Coast to the East Coast. They're playing outside. They're playing in a cold weather game where Derek Carr is like 0-6 in his career in games 32 degrees or less. So I think that's pretty notable. And I think the Bengals come out and win. I like the under in this game, although Ben has a bet on the over. Personally, I bet on the under 48.5. I love that bet. And unders are hitting at like a 75% rate over the last 4 years of the playoffs. So I think the unders are a little bit undervalued, and I definitely do not want to play Derek Carr this week. All right, moving on. Mixon is a lock in cash. Aaron asked, absolutely, 7,100. You have to play Joe Mixon in cash if you are playing double ups or head-to-heads. For sure. He's projecting the best out of any running back on this slate. Obviously, he's a lock for 20, 25 touches. He'll get some work in the receiving game. So you're just starting your lineups with Joe Mixon. He's a home favored running back, decent implied team total for the Bengals. It's a good matchup going up against this Raiders defense that has gotten beat on the ground by opposing running backs all season. So yes, you are playing Joe Mixon in cash, and he's the best tournament play as well. for running backs, I'm going to have a very condensed pool. Obviously, there's not many options, so you're going to have a condensed pool no matter what. I think my favorite running back play for tournaments is Damian Harris at 6,400. As it stands right now, I think he is going to be the lowest owned running back out of these four guys. So I kind of like getting that ownership leverage with Damian Harris. And obviously, we've seen Damian Harris eat up the Bills 2 times this season. And that is how you beat the Bills on the ground, is through the rushing game and rushing touchdowns. So I definitely love Damian Harris as the contrarian pivot off of Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon. Ben is back.
How are we looking?
No. I don't know what's going on.
Me neither, bro. My shit, I just ran a speed test, so it was good. It was all good.
If anybody is watching and has any suggestions on how to fix Ben's side of his issues, we would take some suggestions.
Did you talk about the Josh Allen Viagra narrative yet?
No.
Oh.
He's not taking Viagra.
I would. I do before every stream, every podcast. All right.
Yeah.
Back to the drawing board.
While Ben gets that situated, yeah, maybe you can buy into the Josh Allen Viagra narrative. Shout out to Bart Scott. Just a wild clip if you haven't seen it. But yeah, in terms of running backs, Damian Harris, I think, is the contrarian pivot. Ramondre Stevenson would be the long shot running back that I would take a shot on. I currently do have a bet on Ramondre Stevenson under on his rushing yards, just because, you know, the Patriots are a road dog. Low implied team total, timeshare. You know, Damian Harris is going to see, you know, the majority of the timeshare. Then Brandon Bolden's going to come in on passing downs. So I bet on Ramondre Stevenson under, but if you're just looking for a long shot in GPPs, I don't mind going there. But in cash, obviously, you're not playing Ramondre Stevenson. In cash, you are probably going Joe Mixon, Josh Jacobs, and Devin Singletary and running the 3 running back build, just because all 3 of those guys are going to project for 15 to 25 touches, somewhere in that range. All of them do factor into the passing game pretty well. And the floors on all 3 of these running backs are just so high. So Joe Mixon is my favorite play. I love Devin Singletary this week. The Patriots have been one of the worst run defenses over the last month of the season, giving up, they're giving up over 153 yards rushing per game over the last week they're giving up over 110 rushing yards per game over the last month of the season. They've just been getting obliterated on the ground, giving up over 25 Draftkings points per game to opposing running backs in that time span, which is, you know, bottom 7 in the league. So Devin Singletary's a smash. Joe Mixon's a smash. Josh Jacobs is going to project pretty well. I think he's the fade in tournaments just because the Raiders could get down in this game, and Jalen Richard could come in and steal some pass work. So really my leans are Mixon, Jacobs, Singletary, and cash. And then in tournaments, I'm fading Josh Jacobs for Damian Harris, who is projecting to come in with about, half the ownership, a little more than half the ownership of Josh Jacobs, Damian Harris is. So Damian Harris is the GPP play, in my opinion. And then obviously you can mix in and Singletary, but it's clear cut to me that Damian Harris is the leverage tournament play of the week on this 2-game slate. All right, moving on to wide receiver. It's not a great slate for wide receivers. You know, Jamar Chase isn't projecting too strongly just because we've seen it over the course of the season that Chase and T. Higgins are basically tied in terms of target market share. And you are getting a $1,600 discount from Chase to Higgins. So Higgins is going to project by far the best out of these Bengals wide receivers. The price tag is just egregious. So if you're playing T. Higgins, if you're playing cash, you're locking in T. Higgins. And obviously he's a great tournament play as well, and you could stack him up with Joe Burrow. But I think that makes Chase the pay up to be contrarian option on this 2-game slate. Obviously, ownership on a 2-game slate is going to get condensed. A lot of these guys are going to be high owned, but you could always go the route of fading T. Higgins, who is probably going to be the highest owned wide receiver on the slate, and playing Jamar Chase, who might be like the 4th or 5th highest owned wide receiver on the slate, but arguably has the highest ceiling out of any player in this player pool. So I definitely like taking the pay up to be contrarian approach. And, you can see it on the screen right here. There's not a lot in the mid range. So we're going to be looking to some of these value guys. And I think the value guy that everybody is going to gravitate towards is Cole Beasley at 4,200. I referenced the reports earlier about what the Patriots were going to do on defense. In that same report, they said that should open up more targets for Cole Beasley and Dawson Knox. And I will say, as a Patriots fan, that is where you beat the Patriots, is you beat them through the slot. They lost Jonathan Jones earlier in the season, who, in my opinion, is one of the more elite slot cornerbacks in the NFL. Cole Beasley should have a field day against Miles Bryant or, Sean Wade or whoever they put in the slot. So he's going to be the chalk. And if Cole Beasley is a chalk, I don't mind playing him, but I think you can definitely get away from Cole Beasley and play Gabe Davis and play Emmanuel Sanders at 4,300. Both of these guys aren't going to project well, but you get exposure to this Bills, elite passing offense. You could stack them up with Josh Allen. They're great salary savers. And then Zay Jones at 4K. Should have mentioned him first. He's probably going to be the stone chalk. And I do currently have a bet on Zay Jones overs, over 4.5 catches at plus 120 on FanDuel or DraftKings right now. And I will admit that it's probably more thin since Darren Waller is back and should command a decent target share in this spot. But as you can see right here, after this Week 11 game, Zay Jones' role just changed in the offense. He's 80% snap player. He's their number one receiver, in my opinion, besides Hunter Renfrow. He's their number one outside receiver, I should say. And Zay Jones at 4K, it's just a good value for him. I like the over on his prop. Like I said, I already bet that on FanDuel, and he's going to be the pay down option. Ben back in the stream on his phone. See, that looks way better.
Does it?
Yeah, the audio sucks, but it's the video you could see.
All right.
We're just chalked here.
We are chalked. I don't know what's up, bro. Don't.
There's probably something that you have to update or maybe disconnect the camera or restart the camera or the mic or something. There's got to be something that you could do, that you could try and test run while you're on your phone.
All right. Temporarily. Yes, no.
I mean, yeah, the video looks good.
All right.
But you don't have headphones connected, or you can hear me through the stream, but
I have my audio coming through the desktop.
Yes, that choppy ass Android mic you got,
bro. Stop.
We need to get you an iPhone.
Absolutely not.
All right, but you could just hop in. I was just talking about how Zay Jones is projecting to be like the chalk at the cheap end of wide receivers, and his role has changed over the last like 5 to 6 weeks of the NFL season.
Mm-hmm.
He's operating as the Raiders' number one outside wide receiver, so he looks like a good value at 4K.
Agreed.
And then just in terms of tournaments, obviously you can go to Diggs, has one of the highest ceilings on the slate. He's probably going to be a top 3, top 4 owned wide receiver in cash, or in tournaments, I should say. And everybody's going to play Diggs, so I think he's fine. I think the tournament play at the top or the mid range is Hunter Renfrow at 6,400. Josh Jacobs is going to be chalk. Zay Jones is going to be chalk. Darren Waller is going to be chalk. But who is not going to be chalk? The most productive Raiders player of the entire season. He's priced up. It's a little disgusting, 6,400. But you're telling me a guy that was, a wide receiver 1 on the season, pretty much, has 30-plus point games in his range of outcomes, is going to be the lowest owned Raiders player. I will take that all day. I even, have Renfrow in cash consideration. I think the projections just aren't going to love Renfrow because everybody is pretty much healthy now for the Raiders. Waller, Zay Jones, Bryan Edwards, Josh Jacobs. So projections, like I said, aren't going to love Renfrow, but 6,400, I think it's a decent price on this slate. I think he's a good pivot off of Higgins chalk, in the same price range. And I think he is a pretty good leverage play off of the Waller, Josh Jacobs, and Zay Jones chalk. So if I'm picking a Raider in tournaments, I'm picking Waller and Renfrow. And I'm fading Josh Jacobs and Zay Jones. And these pivots down here in Gabe, Beasley, Sanders, Aguilar, I think are all great pivots off of Zay Jones, which I think his chalk is bad chalk, to be honest. I think Zay Jones is bad chalk for tournaments this week. Just an easy fade. I think it's very thin, and obviously I hope my bet hits, but I just think that his usage with all of those guys healthy could diminish in this spot. And, they're a road dog. I could see the Raiders putting up like 13 points in this game. I am very low on the Raiders in this spot. In terms of the Patriots, guys, got to talk about them. Jacoby's 5K, Bourne 4,400, Aguilar 3,500. You could talk yourself into playing one of these guys, just if you think about it from, a game perspective and how Vegas is projecting the game to go. Vegas is projecting the Bills to win by pretty much a touchdown. They're 5-point favorites, touchdown 6 points. So you could talk yourself into a theory where the Patriots have to throw the ball more if they get down big. And, it's definitely possible going into Buffalo that the Patriots are going to have to throw the ball a little bit more if they get down. What are the chances that the Patriots get into the game plan or the game environment that they want? I would say pretty slim. So Bourne, Jacoby, Aguilar, I guess they're all fine dart throws. Obviously, I prefer the Bengals wide receivers. Obviously, I prefer Renfrow, but it's definitely a good way to get leverage as Jacoby is going to come in, less than 30% projected. Kendrick Bourne is going to come in with about 10 to 15% ownership on the slate. And we've seen KB get there. If he gets you 15 points in this spot at 4,400, like you're probably going to need him in the Millie Maker or some of these other large field tournaments, just because the lack of, upside in this range, I think is pretty lacking. And whichever one of these guys does get, 15, 16 points is going to make the optimal. But KB, Jacoby, Aguilar, I think they're all fine tournament dart throws, but obviously I do not prefer them. And I like the under in the Bills game. It's going to be 1 degrees outside. I could have went to this game. Absolutely not. Do you think I'm going to Highmark Stadium in Buffalo as a Patriots fan to sit in 1 degree weather? You're absolutely joking. Like I'm never doing that. I'm going to sit in a nice cozy house, watch my team play, and that is that. But yeah, wide receiver, favorite tournament play, Renfro. If you're playing cash, you're probably going T. Higgins, Zay Jones, and probably one of Cole Beasley, Gabe Davis, or if you want to pay up, probably Diggs. So like Diggs, T. Higgins, Beasley, T. Higgins, Beasley, Gabe Davis, T. Higgins, Beasley, Chase. One of those combos is what you're rolling with in cash games on this 2-game slate. Tight end, Darren Waller, obviously the best play. Probably going to come overweight Darren Waller in tournaments. Just a great spot against one of the worst defending teams against tight ends on the season. They have given up the most DraftKings points per game to opposing tight ends over the last month of the season, giving up a little bit over 18 points per game. And on the season in total, the Bengals have given up over 14 DraftKings points per game, which is bottom 8 in the NFL. So this is one of the worst teams against tight ends. Darren Waller came back last week, had 9 targets. Obviously, a bad, catch rate last week against the Chargers. But I expect him to bounce back in this spot. Another week that he had to prepare for this game, another week to get over the COVID stuff, another week to get over some of the injuries that he had during the course of the season. So Waller is going to project the best at 5,700. Obviously, you can get away from him in GPPs. He's 5,700. You're paying up a little bit. Dawson Knox, 5,100. Hunter Henry, 45. And CJ Uzoma, 3,500. I want to go to Uzoma. The last time that these two teams faced, he only had 3 targets, 2 catches for 9 yards. I currently do have a bet on CJ Uzoma under on his receiving yards just because the Raiders play primarily zone defense, and CJ Uzoma hasn't been a good tight end against zone defenses. He's primarily gotten there against defenses that run majority man coverage, like the Ravens, the Jags. So I'm not on Uzoma as the pay down tight end this week. Hunter Henry, I guess, is okay. 4,500. He's probably going to see 5 targets is what you're going to get out of Hunter Henry. He hasn't done anything against Buffalo. Buffalo has one of the best pass defenses in the NFL, and they have the linebackers and safeties to match up with these Patriots tight ends. So not too confident in Hunter Henry this week. So in terms of tournaments, I'm really just limiting my exposure to Dawson Knox and Josh Allen stacks and Darren Waller and Raiders and Bengals stacks. I think it doesn't get much more simple than that. Defense, the chalk is going to be the Bengals. I'm fine playing the Bengals in this spot, 2,900. If you want to play the Bills, I think that is the pay up option. Obviously, 3,200. They're fine. They're not projecting great, but at home in the cold against a Patriots offense that has been one of the worst offenses in the NFL over the last month of the season. They went 1-3. Mac Jones had like 7 turnovers. So Bills D 3,200 is fine. And I think the Bengals D is fine. Patriots D, Raiders D are going to be the contrarian options. And, you could definitely pay down if you need to save the couple hundred to fit somebody else in your lineup. Patriots D, 2,700. think that's fine. And you get some ownership leverage with the Patriots defense. But I think that for defense, I'm really just plugging in whoever fits is how I'm approaching this slate. To be honest, I'm building my lineups. If I need to save money, I'll just pay down at D. If I have the money, I'll pay up to the Bills and move on from there. But just in terms of tournaments on this slate, you're going to want to go heavy Bengals Raiders. Like I said, Hunter Renfrow probably the best tournament play. Jamar Chase is probably the second best tournament play on this slate, as T. Higgins is going to be massive chalk. Burrow doubles with Chase, T. Higgins look really, really solid. You could bring it back with Zay Jones, Waller, Renfrow, and get crazy with the Bills value guys or something like that. I think that is definitely viable. And as always, if you want to get unique, you can leave money on the board. So Josh Allen, great play. Joe Burrow is probably the tournament play. Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Bring it back with Hunter Renfrow. That's my stack of the day for this 2-game slate. And then you can fill out the rest of your lineup with these cheap players. And then you also got some cheap running back options: Singletary 5,800, Damian Harris 6,400, and then obviously you can include Joe Mixon in your Bengals stacks. I think on a 2-game slate. I want to do it on a full main slate, but on a 2-game slate, I think that is okay if you think the Bengals erupt in this spot at home against one of the worst teams, in my opinion, in the playoffs. All right, Ben is still MIA because there is something wrong with his camera, with his mic. So we will move on. Bengals. So Ben says Bengals onslaught with Harris, Beasley, 2 off. Yeah, I definitely like that approach. Like I said, Damian Harris is my favorite tournament play at running back. Beasley is projecting okay, but he's going to be a nice pivot off of Zay Jones chalk, and Beasley is the short game slate king. So Cole Beasley, Damian Harris are the 2 one-offs that Ben loves, and I also love that as well. All right. For the 3-game slate, we will move on. Let me find it. All right. For the 3-game slate, I don't know where the 3-game slate is. What, am I bugging? Sorry, chat. All right, here we go. They kind of made it a little bit difficult. They made it a little bit difficult to find the 3-game slate since they want to have all of these slates in front of it. But we're here now. Philly, Tampa Bay, San Francisco, Dallas, Pitt, and KC. So we got some pretty decent games, I think, on tap for Sunday for this 3-game slate. As it stands right now, the Eagles are 8-point dogs on DraftKings Sportsbook to the Buccaneers. The 49ers have been consistent with their spread. They are 3-point dogs on DK. You can find 3.5 on BetMGM if you have BetMGM. And then the Steelers have been consistently around a 12 to 12.5 point dog to the Chiefs. You can find 12.5 on FanDuel. You can get Chiefs minus 12 on DK Sportsbook right now. And, I got to give out my picks. I think that underdogs are undervalued for sure in the wildcard round. And, I think a profitable long-term strategy is fading the public. And the public is all over the Bucs here. 58% of the bets have come on the Bucs. So Philly +8, I think that looks okay. If I had to choose, I would just stay away from this game. Dallas, San Francisco. I think San Francisco +3 is the sharp play here. I think Kyle Shanahan is the better coach. I think that the Niners match up well with the Cowboys. And ultimately, I think this is just going to be a close game. Even if the Cowboys win, you're still getting a field goal for the Niners side. I think this is one of the more I think this is one of the teams that could surprise people and make a run potentially is the San Francisco 49ers. So give me the field goal. I will always bet against the fraud Cowboys. I just think they are stone frauds in my opinion, and they could lose this game outright. And then KC Pitt, underdogs that have a spread of 10 or more over the last, I think it's like 10 years, are 2-10 against the spread. So I'm just going to bet against Big Ben in this spot. Give me KC -12. So those are my 3 bets for this game. Moving on to DFS purposes for this Sunday 3-game slate. And, if you're playing the 6-game slate, shout out to you. I'll probably throw a couple entries into that. I think it's pretty interesting. And some of the prices are different, but it's easier just to go over, each slate individually. So for the Sunday slate at the quarterback position, I think that the ownership is going to come with Dak and Patrick Mahomes. So that's kind of a change off of what I was thinking earlier in the week. I thought Jalen Hurts would be one of the higher owned quarterbacks because he's 6,100, and we know the fantasy ceiling with Jalen Hurts is just extremely high due to his rushing upside. And Jalen Hurts didn't play in that Week 18 game. Got a couple weeks off to rest that ankle that he injured a couple weeks ago in the season. And I think that his rushing ability is being undervalued in the projections so far. And if Jalen Hurts is going to come in as like the 4th or 3rd highest owned quarterback, I'm probably going to be overweight that. Just the projection, I think, at 6,100 is so good for Jalen Hurts this week. Dak Prescott, 6,700. He could be the chalk at quarterback. He's going to project very, very well. This is the highest total game on the slate at 49 as it stands right now. Personally, I think this could be a down Cowboys game, and the total is actually 50.5. So a little bit higher, but it's still nonetheless the highest total game on the slate. Who would you prioritize on the full slate? I think I would prioritize getting, Uncle Len, playoff Lenny, Lombardi Lenny, if he's good to go. There are some reports, and we'll talk about that at running back, that he's a game time decision, but I think he's good to go. So I would prioritize getting him. I would prioritize getting Joe Mixon. I would probably prioritize in cash, if you're playing cash, getting to Jalen Hurts or Dak. At the tight end position, probably Waller. Like I said, I haven't looked at the prices for the 6-game slate. I haven't really looked at it too much, but if Goddard is that cheap on the 6-game slate, Dallas Goedert, I think, is probably the priority over Waller for cash. At wide receiver, I think that you're probably still going T. Higgins. He's projecting really, really good. You're probably playing one of these Cowboys wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, if the prices are pretty close to what they are here. 6,300 for Lamb, 5,900 for Amari Cooper. If you listen to the preview pod, I said that these price tags are just so egregious on these Cowboys wide receivers, and it's probably the best double on the slate. And then Tyreek Hill at 7,300 looks really, really good too. So I think those are my priorities if I'm playing the full slate. But just to finish up at the quarterback position, like I said, I love Jalen Hurts as the contrarian play this week. Dak Prescott, obviously great play. Patrick Mahomes against the Steelers team that, I believe that they truly think they have no shot in this game. You're going into Arrowhead with a withered Big Ben. He can't push the ball down the field really well. A lot of these targets and catches are going to be within 6 yards of the line of scrimmage, just low ADOT stuff. The only way the Steelers potentially win this game is if they get some big plays out of Najee Harris breaks a long run, but he's shown that that's not in his bag. Or they get, a big yak play out of Deontay Johnson or a big play out of Chase Claypool. And I just don't see that happening in Arrowhead. It's a tough spot for the Steelers offense, but Patrick Mahomes, great play this week. Obviously, the Chiefs are, probably the best team in the NFL, or the second best team behind the Packers. They're the best team in the AFC, in my opinion. So I'm always going to be fine with playing Patrick Mahomes. The Steelers have the highest implied team total out of any team on this 6-game slate at 29.25 as it currently stands. So I think the Mahomes stuff is really, really good. And the Tom Brady stuff is probably going to go overlooked, which is surprising. Tom Brady is projecting to be like the 5th highest owned quarterback, even below like Jalen Hurts and Jimmy G, which I don't think is right. I don't see how Jimmy G is more owned than Brady. Obviously, Brady 7,200 price tag is up there, but we know that Brady in the playoffs is usually money. This Bucs offense, Brady has one of the highest ceilings on the slate, and the offense got condensed after AB, left the field and Chris Godwin got hurt. We know where the ball's going now. We know it's going to Mike Evans, Leonard Fournette, and Rob Gronkowski. Like, it's so clear where the ball is going. Obviously, weather is a concern. If you haven't seen any of the weather reports, there's supposed to be some showers in this game, I believe, which could impact the Buccaneers offense. But I'd still be fine taking some shots on Brady double stacks in these large field tournaments if you're going to get Brady as the lowest owned quarterback on the slate. And Big Ben will obviously be the lowest owned guy this week. Running back. This is a lot of talking. Like I said, if anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Was not expecting Ben to have all of these issues. So I'm sorry that you have to listen to me ramble for however long else I will be streaming. Just unfortunate. He should have probably tested it out beforehand. I don't know. But this running back slate is a little bit more rough than the 2-game slate, just because we do have some injuries. Like I said, Uncle Lenny, playoff Lenny, Lombardi Lenny is the best play on the slate, period, if he's good to go. And I think if he's good to go, he's going to be good for 20 touches and a bunch of catches in this spot. It's a good spot for the Bucs running backs, especially the pass catching running backs. They will have some severe mismatches in terms of linebackers on their running backs. And we know that Brady is going to check the ball down a fuck ton, and Leonard Fournette is going to get 6+ targets in this game. So if he's good to go, which I think he should, don't, quote me, don't take what I'm saying 100%, but I think he should play. If he doesn't, then Keyshawn Vaughn will open up at 4,500. That would be interesting. Rojo has already been ruled out. But Leonard Fournette, 5,600. Stone lock if he's good to go in cash. In tournaments, obviously you can get away, but it's definitely a hard fade. Zeke, I'm just never playing Zeke, ever. It's a tough spot against one of the more tough run defenses in the NFL, especially over the last month or so of the season. They've been like a top 5 run defense in terms of rushing yards allowed over the last month of the season, if I'm not mistaken. They've actually allowed the second fewest amount of rushing yards per game the Niners have to opposing running backs. So Zeke is a clear fade for me, especially with losing work to Tony Pollard. Like, doesn't get much easier than that. Najee Harris, I think, is okay at 6,600. He's just never going to leave the field, and that's just valuable in DraftKings in fantasy. Like, he's never going to leave the field. He's going to be a 90+% snap player. He's going to factor in to the passing game. He's probably going to catch a good amount of, check downs. And at 6,600, he's going to project very well. I just think going into KC, the upside is very low. I kind of just want to avoid the Steelers in general in this spot, besides Deontay Johnson, who I will talk about here in a minute. But at the second highest ownership, I'm fine fading Najee Harris in this spot. Arrowhead, man. Arrowhead is just a tough place to play, especially in the playoffs. So I kind of just want no parts of this Steelers offense. And Najee Harris, I mean, like from a projection standpoint, like, he's going to project so well, but that the ceiling is just so low, in my opinion. Okay, maybe it's not as low as I'm making it out to be. He does have 30-point games in his range of outcomes, and if he gets you 15 to 16 points, which is pretty likely, like 80%, that'll be good enough. But I'd rather take shots on some of these cheap running backs. And Ben in the chat put Darrell Williams as a stone lock, 5,200. Yeah, Darrell Williams, I think, is going to be one of the chalkiest running backs on the slate. He's projecting very, very well now that CEH got ruled out. And I think in tournaments, you play Darrell, you play Uncle Lenny, you just save salary. I really don't see a need to pay up to Najee Harris, up to Zeke, when frankly the ceilings on those guys are just so low, in my opinion, especially in the spots that they're in. Najee as a 12-point road dog going into one of the toughest places to play. Zeke as, at home against one of the best run defenses in the NFL's, losing work to Tony Pollard. Just clear-cut fades for me. So if you're playing GPPs on Sunday, I think you fade those top two guys. You go Darrell, great play. Obviously, a Chiefs running back attached to Patrick Mahomes, highest implied team total on the slate. Not much more needs to be said. Playoff Lenny. He's playoff Lenny for a reason. And then if you want the leverage and the ownership and the salary savings, I think Miles Sanders is a little interesting. He is coming back off of having a broken hand, and we saw the Eagles utilize him as a bell cow to end the season. And the Buccaneers defense has kind of been vulnerable a little bit lately. They are still pretty good, but over the last month of the season, if I'm looking at this, they've only given up 63 rushing yards on the ground to running backs, which is, still pretty great, but they're giving up about 6 catches per game to opposing running backs and almost, 10 targets per game to opposing running backs. So if Miles Sanders gets utilized a little bit in the receiving game, there's some theoretical upside there at 5K, but obviously he's going to lose work to Jordan Howard, Boston Scott, Kenny Gainwell might come into some. So it's probably just an all-around avoid situation. The Eagles' backfield is, and obviously he's going to lose work to Jalen Hurts, but I don't know. A dart throw of Sanders looks a little interesting to me, but Darrell Williams, Leonard Fournette, I don't think it gets much easier than that. And then Elijah Mitchell as the tournament pivot and fade Zeke and Najee Harris. All right. Moving on to wide receiver. It's looking like Ben isn't going to be on this stream. We have to get that situation figured out. I'll probably help him with that after the stream is over, but we're going to get through this. Obviously, if you're still watching, shout out to you. If you're watching this on replay, make sure you subscribe, like the video, like the stream, and let's talk about these wide receivers for this 3-game slate. Debo, Tyreek, Mike Evans round out the top of the range. I don't mind Debo this week, 7,900. Projections aren't really going to love Debo ever, especially at this elevated price tag. But the upside is there. I think that he's one of the most explosive players in the NFL, and I just want exposure to the ceiling that Debo brings on a 3-game slate. Debo honestly might be a better play than Tyreek Hill at this point. Like, Debo has been a better wide receiver than Tyreek Hill this season, especially in fantasy. So I think that getting Debo at, let's see, less than 30% ownership, which is going to be lower than Tyreek Hill, I think that is a clean tournament pivot. Is just paying the extra 600 to get up from Tyreek Hill to Debo and playing the more productive wide receiver this season, especially in a spot where KC could just go more run heavy as they're blowing the brakes off of the Steelers at home. Deontay Johnson, Lamb, Amari Cooper, Devontae Smith kind of make up this mid-tier of wide receiver, and Lamb and Amari Cooper are going to project the best out of this entire player pool just because DraftKings fucked up their pricing, to be honest. $6,300 for Lamb and $5,900 for Amari Cooper. Just egregious price tags, in my personal opinion. I've mentioned it on the pod, but the Dallas Cowboys double stack with Lamb and Cooper is probably the best double stack for the price out of the entire slate. And you can even include like the 6-game slate as well. Like, I don't know what the hell DraftKings was thinking. So Lamb, Amari Cooper, they look great. Obviously, I'm going to sprinkle those guys in. Cedric Wilson at 4,300. I mean, Cedric Wilson has to be the clearest tournament pivot of all time. Right, chat? Like CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper are going to be, two of, if not the 2 highest owned wide receivers on the slate. Cedric Wilson playing out of the slot at 4,300. He's looked pretty solid in his opportunity this season. Like, he has put up some decent fantasy games when he gets the opportunity. Obviously, things are going to, funnel through Lamb and Amari Cooper, especially in a playoff game. But Cedric Wilson could be the forgotten man, from the 49ers defense perspective. And 4,300, God, the price tag on Wilson is just so good. So I would include him in the Dallas doubles. If you want to fade one of Amari or CeeDee Lamb, I think that's fine. And he's the best salary saver on the slate, in my opinion. Cedric Wilson, that is my tournament lock of the week, is Cedric Wilson for this 3-game slate. Deontay Johnson, I kind of like him a little bit, 6,700. He's just going to get peppered with targets 10, 15, 9, 5, 10, 11, 14, 13. Like, this guy is going to get targets. Big Ben is going to look towards Deontay Johnson pretty much every single drive. So I love Deontay this week. Chase Claypool, 4,700. I think he's a fine tournament dart throw. You can include him in your Chiefs bringbacks. And I'm really only bringing it back with Claypool or Deontay Johnson for that Chiefs game, as we know the Steelers are going to be losing in this game. Big Ben's probably going to throw the ball like 70 times for 169 yards. So don't mind those 2 guys. The Niners wide receivers, I think are probably the best leverage spot, in my opinion, with Ayuk and Debo. And we talked about it a little on the pod, but, the 49ers players really hardly ever come in with high ownership. And you're getting a pretty solid price tag on Brandon Ayuk at 5,200. So I definitely like him against Dallas. Vegas is projecting San Fran to lose this game. So if San Fran gets in a negative game script, which could easily happen against this lethal Cowboys offense, which has averaged like the most points over the last month of the season, the Cowboys offense has, we could see some fireworks from the Niners passing game. And Brandon Ayuk, 5,200, looks really, really solid to me. Devontae Smith, I guess, is okay. Not too interested in any of the Eagles guys. Not too interested in any of these cheap wide receivers besides Cedric Wilson, Byron Pringle, Hardman. I think they all kind of like cannibalize each other, and I'm not interested in any of those guys at all. Guess Perryman is okay, 4,600. I'm not too interested in him. I'm kind of just condensing my player pool to Debo, Tyreek, Lamb, Cooper, Cedric Wilson, Mike Evans. I didn't mention him, but he's going to be the absolute leverage play of the slate at 7K. Nobody's going to play Mike Evans for some reason, even though he's the only good wide receiver that the Bucs have right now. And we know that Mike Evans is a natural born touchdown scorer. So give me Mike Evans in this spot, 7K, good pivot off of Tyreek, good pivot off of Debo Samuel. And obviously you compare him with Tom Brady as well. But Dallas stuff looks really, really nice. The Niners wide receivers look really, really good. Debo and Cedric Wilson are my favorite contrarian plays in tournaments. I think if you're playing cash, you're probably going, Cooper, Lamb, Tyreek, just the standard guys. You can even probably play Wilson, to be honest, if you need to save salary. All right, moving on to tight end. Tight end on this slate is actually really good, in my opinion. You have Freiermuth, Goddard, solid pay down options. In the mid-range, you have Kittle and Schultz, who are both very good fantasy options. And then you have Gronk and Kelsey, who are very, very good fantasy options. So, DraftKings did a pretty solid job of the pricing with these tight ends, besides Goddard, who should be priced at 5,400 instead of 4,400. So Goddard is going to come in as the stone chalk this week. Great play. If you're playing cash, you're locking in Dallas Goedert 100%. If you're playing tournaments, you can definitely get away from Goddard and, the Philly offense in general. There's probably a good chance that Philadelphia goes in and just gets mollywopped against the Bucs in Tampa Bay. So I'd be fine fading Goddard as the highest owned tight end on the slate, but the price tag, I will say, is egregious on Goddard, and he is going to be the highest owned tight end by far. Obviously, if you're looking at pivots, you're probably just going to Kittle or Gronk. Like I mentioned, the Bucs have no healthy players. We know that the offense is going to run through playoff Len. We know it's going to run through Mike Evans and Gronkowski. And Gronkowski, Tom Brady have a connection. Brady, trust Gronk. It's a good matchup going up against these Philly linebackers where they're just outmatched by Gronk and even Cameron Brate. And just the way the Eagles play defense, they funnel a lot of targets to opposing tight ends. So at 6,400, Gronk is my favorite tournament play of the week. And I love the Bucs stuff this week. The Bucs double looks so good at lower ownership. George Kittle, obviously, you can go there. He could break the slate and arguably has the highest ceiling out of any tight end on this slate, and arguably has the highest tight end or has the highest ceiling, period. Besides maybe Debo and Tyreek on this slate. So George Kittle looks really solid at 5,800. You're getting a discount off of his price tags in previous weeks, 75, 74, 71. They finally gave us a manageable price for George Kittle on this slate, 5,800. So Kittle looks really, really good. Obviously, projections aren't going to love Kittle. They're not, just because there's a lot of players in that Niners offense that are going to touch the ball a good amount. Elijah Mitchell is going to get, 20 plus touches. Debo Samuel is going to get touches. They have Brandon Ayuk, who I think is a baller. And we just don't know if the play volume is going to be there for all of these guys to get there. Mm-hmm. Wow, Ben's back.
Mm-hmm.
It's finally fixed.
Only took me an hour. Yo, good job, man. I was watching that whole thing.
Yeah, stream's pretty much over.
Exactly. So, but I just had to come in and give some final takes, man. George Kittle, what a player. What a guy.
Who's your favorite tight end play?
Goddard and Gronk.
Yeah. Goddard's going to be the stone chalk, though.
Yeah, but, double tight end isn't. So you throw Gronk in there. You got Goddard in there. As your single stack with Jalen Hurts, best quarterback play on the 3-game slate. Come on.
I can't go double tight end, but it sounds good. Double tight ends just don't win tournaments. It's been proven. It's been proven slate after slate, year over year. It'll win 1 out of 17 main slates. But this is a 3-game slate, so I guess in theory,
all bets are off on 3 gamers, 2 gamers.
In theory, yeah. But yeah, so Gronk, Kittle, Goddard are probably the best plays at tight end. Kelsey, honestly, I don't have much interest in Kelsey as the highest price guy.
Nah, I mean, they're not going to get pushed in that game at all.
All right. Defense, you're probably just playing the Chiefs in cash. They're going to project the best out of these defenses. In tournaments, it's just figuring out who's going to be chalky in this spot. And it's looking like all the Cowboys guys are going to be chalk. So the 49ers look like the best leverage play at defense at 2,800. So I definitely have some interest in the 49ers defense. You know, it is the closest spread of all of these games on this wildcard slate. So don't mind them. And then I think obviously the Cowboys D, they're probably going to be pretty chalky, and the Bucs D as well. So 49ers best leverage defense, in my opinion. But yeah.
Agreed. Love the Chiefs, though. I mean, we're talking about a team at home in Arrowhead about to face like 50-plus Big Ben dropbacks. Like, doesn't get much easier than just plugging the Chiefs in.
Yep. All right. I mean, you could just rattle off your takes for the people. They already got my takes.
All right. My takes, let's see here. So, I mean, quarterback, I think that in cash, you're playing Jalen Hurts. I think in tournaments, I'm still probably playing Jalen Hurts. I know that you mentioned that you don't like Devontae Smith, but I think he's going to get completely overlooked on this slate. I love that single stack when it comes to Hurts. Devontae Smith, I mean, I would expect a more pass-happy approach here. I think that the Eagles get forced into it. I mean, obviously, we know the Bucs run defense is stout, and they become a pass funnel on defense. So I like Hurts single stacked with both Goddard, but Smith makes a little bit more sense from a contrarian tournament perspective at running back. I mean, I've mentioned it in the chat briefly, but I love Darrell Williams this week. The price is just too good. It's 5,200. And I mean, we talked about it on the podcast. If one of him or CEH got ruled out, they would instantly become one of the best plays on the slate. CEH is out, and there we have it. You know, Darrell Williams, great price tag, great matchup at home, 12.5 point favorites, best team total on the slate. Doesn't get much easier than that. And I don't think that the ownership is going to be, that out of control. Fournette should be higher owned, and I kind of like the spot a little bit more for Darrell. So, I mean, in terms of cash games on this slate, you're playing Darrell, you're playing Fournette, and then you're probably cutting it there. I don't think you're playing Harris in cash. I don't think you're playing Zeke, obviously, in cash. Elijah Mitchell, to me, makes a ton of sense as a GPP contrarian play, especially if you think that San Francisco wins this game. And you mentioned them being one of your favorite upset picks, especially for Sunday. I agree with that. I think that, the two teams most likely to upset for wildcard weekend, 49ers and the Patriots. So I like Elijah Mitchell as your piece there. And we've also seen games, he has a 6-target game and a 5-target game in his range of outcomes. So, he's going to be on the field. This is, win or you're out status in the playoffs. So I think that they're just going to depend fully on Elijah Mitchell in this spot. So if they get down, I don't think he's coming off the field. I think he could still see one of those 5-6 target games. And at 5,700, he makes a lot of sense as a leverage play off of Fournette and Darrell. Wide receiver. You mentioned Debo. I think that Debo's a phenomenal play. I think that, he's arguably got the best ceiling of any player on this slate. He's done it time and time again. Love Debo Samuel. I'm pretty sure that you said that the Cowboys are just egregiously priced, right? Cooper and Lamb. I mean, it's embarrassing. I don't know what the fuck Draftkings was doing.
And Cedric Wilson is like the best value on the slate.
Yeah, he's what, 4,400 on 43 on this, 44 on the main, or on the 6, I should say. But yeah, Cedric Wilson, phenomenal play. Love him. Not too interested personally in Hardman or Pringle in that range. I think Cedric Wilson is clear-cut a better play. I would have a little bit of interest in going with Tyler Johnson just because he's very cheap. Cyril Grayson's out. Gronk is going to be owned. Fournette is going to be owned. So if you want to double it up with like Brady to Evans and Tyler Johnson, I think that's pretty contrarian. Brady's ownership projection is extremely low for some reason. Like there's going to be a bunch of quarterbacks higher owned than Brady, and we know that. You want to win money, you play the buck stack week in and week out. So I love stacking it up with Evans. I think he goes under owned for his potential ceiling on this slate, and Tyler Johnson's sort of like my low owned dart throw at wide receiver.
Yeah, I currently have a bet on Tyler Johnson over 28.5 receiving yards on FanDuel.
Wow, that's a good line.
So, yeah, I'm rooting for Tyler Johnson on Sunday, and it's just a good spot for the Bucs offense, I think, especially in the middle of the field and for the slot wide receivers. So I don't mind Tyler Johnson at all. Obviously, the ceiling is pretty low, and I personally prefer Cedric Wilson to Tyler Johnson. But I think it's okay. But yeah, I think we're pretty much on the same page for this 3 games slate.
You like Ayuk?
Yeah, I like Ayuk, 5,200. I prefer Ayuk to Devontae Smith, personally.
Interesting. It's a better game environment. Yeah, man. I mean, I agree with pretty much everything you said. Unfortunately, I was stuck just watching from the chat as my internet was I don't know. I don't even know what happened with that.
All right. Well, let's see. Let's end the stream now that you're here. I already talked about DFS. We pretty much agree on the same thing. Pretty much. So now, our first ever NFL playoff weekend where we can bet.
Let's go.
We can go through these games if you want and say our favorite picks for each of these games. If you're in New York, you should probably be getting on these sports books, DraftKings, FanDuel, Caesars, all pretty solid, and they're just handing out free money, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll let you start first. Raiders, Bengals. What's your favorite bet in this game?
My favorite bet in this game is over 48.5.
Yeah, I think this is where we're going to disagree. I am on the under in this game. I bet on the under. The Raiders have just been one of the more disappointing offenses, especially over the last 6 weeks of the season. They only have 2 games where they've scored more than 20 points. And I think both of those games were at home, or at least one of them could have been on the road. But yeah, the Raiders have been disappointing on offense. They're traveling from the West Coast to the East Coast. The unders are historically, especially over the last 5 playoffs, have been undervalued by the field. The first time that these teams played went under, and really you're just kind of betting on the Bengals probably scoring 35 in this game to hit the over, or at least 30. So I'm on the under 49. My favorite bet personally, I like the under, and I would take the Raiders +6. It kind of contradicts of what I said, but I think this is 2 quarterbacks in their first playoff game ever, 2 head coaches in their first playoff game ever, and I think it's going to be closer than what people expect, just because of the quarterbacks and the coaches. So that's kind of my reasoning, but the line did go down originally to Bengals -4.5, and now it's shot back up to +6 for the Raiders, which is interesting because that would assume money's coming in on the Bengals to bring the spread back, right? But most of the money, the public is on the Bengals, but over 80% of the money is on the Raiders +6.
So a couple big whales throwing some Raiders bets is what you're saying.
The pros are on the Raiders spread.
Well, the pros are going to be disappointed when the Bengals absolutely smash the Raiders this week. My second favorite bet would just be, Bengals money line as part of a parlay because they are absolutely winning this game.
I think the Bengals will win. I do have Bengals ML in a parlay for sure. But I think the under is probably the best bet in this game, even though you're on the over.
Patriots and Bills.
I mean, this line moved from +4 to +5. I'm taking Patriots +5 in this spot.
Yeah, I've already bet. I got it at 4.5. It was down to 4. Now it's up to 5. I don't know, man. I think the Bills win this game, but 5 is a lot of points for what I'm expecting to be a really close game.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the closer games of the season. If you're just going based off like coaching trends in terms of like Bill Belichick, he's 17-5 against the spread in his career in Buffalo. So, you have history on your side if you're taking the Patriots spread. Obviously, these two teams play each other close pretty much. The Bills have taken, 3 dubs in the last 4 meetings. And obviously, I think we both expect the Bills to win, even though I'm a Patriots fan. Like, I'm not delusional. Like, the Bills are the better team, but we definitely could upset if things go our way. But I think it's going to be a close game. 5 points is a lot. And I have the trend right here. I tweeted it actually. 22 of the last 29 outdoor games in the wildcard round have gone under, and the 4 outdoor games in this wildcard slate are the Bengals, the Bills, the Tampa Bay Philly game, and the KC game are the 4 games outdoors. So you get a little bit of history on your side, and underdogs in the playoffs especially are like really undervalued historically. So I'll take another underdog here. Patriots +5 is my favorite bet.
Yep. Agreed.
All right, moving on. Eagles Bucks. What's your favorite bet?
What is the over at in this? 45.5.
45.5 on DK.
I don't know, man. I kind of like Eagles +8.5. I think it's maybe a little bit closer than that, but I mean, I don't know, man. I'm not really taking anything from this game. I don't love any of the lines in this game.
Yeah, this could easily be a trap game for sure. I don't really have a lean, and obviously you don't have to bet on any game, right? But Brady is 0-5 against the spread versus NFC East teams in the playoffs. Maybe that's a little bit of indication. He's 8-11 against the spread as a favorite in the playoffs, as a touchdown or higher, I should say. So if the spread is 7 or more, he's 8-11, so losing record. And he's 24-20-1 against the spread. But the Eagles are just so bad, in my opinion. Like, I think they're probably the second worst playoff team behind the Steelers, and they were 0-6 and 1-5 against the spread versus playoff teams this season. So this is a hard game to really, get my thoughts correct on. I could see this going either way. I could see the Eagles backdoor covering this 8. I could see it going over if the Buccaneers offense explodes, and I could see it going under if the weather is, very impactful. So I think this is probably a no bet for me as well.
Yeah, it's my least favorite game to bet on out of the 6.
All right. 49ers,
this
49ers,
is
Cowboys.
This is easy. 49.
3,
I mean, if you're getting 3.5,
3.5 on BetMGM, which we do not have in New York.
Right. So we're looking at +3 personally. I still like that.
+3. Yeah. I mean, I mentioned it when I was talking about the 49ers for DFS, but I'll bet against the Cowboys any week. Cowboys are just frauds. And obviously the Cowboys are probably the better team here. And they have been, fun fact, they have been the most profitable team in the NFL this season against the spread. In the 17 games for the Dallas Cowboys, if you just blindly bet on them, you would have went 13-4, which is crazy. But I don't know. I think that Mike McCarthy is just going to get outcoached this Sunday. I think Kyle Shanahan is going to make Mike McCarthy look like a fool. 49ers defense has been playing pretty tough. Jimmy Garoppolo has been pretty good against the spread in his career. And Dak Prescott is 0-3 against the spread in his career in the playoffs so far. So you're getting, the historical trends on your side with Niners +3. And then obviously I already mentioned underdogs are usually undervalued, especially with the points. And 3.5, if you can get that, like that looks like a very good line to me. Especially if you can get the half at -110.
Yeah.
At +3 on DK or FanDuel, you're probably going to have to buy the hook and get it to 3.5 just in case the Cowboys kick a last second field goal. But God, 3.5 looks very juicy to me.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, Steelers Chiefs -12, total of 45.5. What do you like?
Chiefs -12. I mean, the Steelers might not put up 12 points.
Yeah, the Steelers have an implied team total of 16.75. I kind of like the under on that, to be honest.
Yeah.
As a prop bet. But just in terms of this game, I definitely like the Chiefs to cover here at 12.5. If you can get it at 12, I think this first column is DraftKings. Yeah. So you can get -12 on DraftKings at -110. That looks really, really good. Obviously, it's going to be close for majority of the game, and you got to hope that the Steelers just don't backdoor cover. But this should be a game where where the Chiefs win by 20 plus. They already beat the Steelers by 26 a couple weeks ago. Big road dogs in the playoffs have done poorly historically, especially as 10+ point dogs. I think the trend, I have it here, the trend with big underdogs is playoff. So double-digit underdogs are 2-10 against the spread in the playoffs since 2011. So 10 years, a 12-game sample size, and usually these are the more profitable bets, even in the regular season. Like we've talked about
on
the
those
pod.
all year, and our best bets is taking these heavy favorites.
The heavy favorites hit at like a 65% rate over the course of the regular season. Like it's above average. Like these are some of the best bets you can make are the heavy favorite spreads against bad teams, and the Steelers are the worst team in the playoffs. So
yep,
it looks like a very good bet to me, and I'll probably stay away from the total on that game. Last game, Cardinals Rams spread. You can get -4.
FanDuel, it's 3.5.
FanDuel, yep. So you can get -4 if you want to bet on the Rams, and you can get +4 at -110 on this play SH, which we don't have.
It's Rams for me. I'll take Rams in the points. I mean, I think that they're going to quickly remove Kyler Murray from the playoffs in this game. They're going to dispatch of him. Cooper Kupp monster game incoming.
Yeah, the Rams are the popular bet, and this is a game where, what's the saying? An unmovable object meets an unstoppable force or something like that.
Yeah.
Because
which one's which?
The Cardinals are just good on the road, and they cover on the road like crazy. But the Rams, I'm pretty sure they cover, but the Rams and Sean McVay specifically is 9-1 straight up against the Cardinals and 8-1-1 against the spread versus the Cardinals. But as the head coach of the Cardinals, Cliff Kingsbury is 13-3-2 against the spread as a road underdog. So which one is going to give? And you think it's the Rams?
I do. I mean, that's interesting. All that's interesting. I know Cliff Kingsbury said that he expects this to be Kyler Murray's best game in the NFL. And I do not expect that.
Yeah. This season, the Cardinals were 8-1 straight up against the spread on the road. Like, I'm telling you, this is that saying. An unmovable object or unstoppable force. Which one? You got the Rams -4. It opened at -4.5, so it's only moved down half a point. Personally, I think I would lean Rams here. I think they're the better team. I think they've been playing better than the Cardinals, who, ended the season, losing like 4 or 5 games or something like that. I think that the Rams at home should be able to get this done. 4 Obviously, sketchy number. I wish it was 3. Just to get that field goal -3, and it might be worth it to like maybe do like a same game parlay or like a 2-leg parlay where you buy the point and just pair it with something else to help the odds. But -4 for the Rams look good, but this is close, man. I could see this going either way. I think that the Rams could easily, cover this, and I also think that they could win like 20-17.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure the Rams in their last game did cover at home against the Cardinals. So that was their one loss as a road dog.
Interesting. Yeah. Like I said, man, I'm going Rams in this spot. Rams are my Super Bowl pick for the NFC. So
yep. Love the Rams.
I think that's it, right?
Yep. Shout out to you for coming on for the last 20 minutes.
Thanks, man. I tried my best. I mean, I think it's only right that you do the sign off as this was your stream.
Hey, yeah. I mean, as always, gotta like the stream, gotta subscribe if you're still watching this replay. Hopefully people are gonna watch the replay. Because there's a lot of more information that we talked about for the Sunday slate than the Saturday slate. The Sunday slate is way more interesting. But yeah, subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the stream. As always, you could join the Discord, which is linked down below in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast. Follow it on SoundCloud. Follow, subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast at the DFS Dose. We'll be back, Monday?
Thursday
for a preview pod of the divisional round. Going to be an interesting week. Let's hope all of these bets hit. Let's hope we cash in Draftkings, and let's sail to the money.
Let's do it. Let's sail to the money. And make sure you follow my boy Joey at Joey Carrion DFS on Twitter.
Don't follow me.
All right, we'll talk to you guys on the next one.